Hello, I'm Sally Wiener Grotta, and today I'll be talking with Saroj Ghoting, who is an early childhood literacy consultant and a national trainer in early literacy. In other words, she's a librarian who is on a mission to incite lifelong passion and the joy of books and in reading in kids. Now, since my own childhood, librarians have been my heroes. And books have been my passion both as a reader and as an author. So you can imagine my delight in having Saroj here today. Hello, Saroj.
Hi, Sally. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm delighted. This is going to be a lot of fun because I'm fascinated by what you do. But I'd like you to start off with, please explain to me. I mean, I get the idea. Early childhood literacy. What the heck is it? I mean, what is it that you're doing when you're traveling all over the country? What is this thing?
Well, I do go around the country doing workshops for public library staff actually on early literacy so that they will then go out into their communities and help families, even those families who don't read well, to help their children enter school ready to learn to read. So you also asked, what is early literacy? And that's a very good question that a lot of people ask. And early literacy is what children know about reading and writing before they actually can read and write. So for example, they know how to turn the pages in a book long before they can actually read the book. They may even kind of turn the pages and babble words because they know that a story goes with the book. That's early literacy. They might recognize some letters, like in their names, but they can't actually read words yet. So that's what we call early literacy. It's not the teaching of reading, it's laying a strong foundation so that when children are taught to read formally in school, they're ready to learn to read. So that's what we're trying to do through the Every Child Ready to Read initiative from the American Library Association. It's an initiative to help all children around the country and their families help their children be ready to learn to read and, of course, to enjoy books and reading.
Yes, so many kids, they learn this, they learn this avoidance of reading so much that makes me so sad, and they carry that into adulthood. So I'm delighted that you're working on teaching them that kind of joy. Could you give an example of one of the methods you use to get kids to embrace reading?
Sure. One of the methods that even I learned taking before I was doing all these trainings, of course, I had to learn myself, right? And we're really working with children, thinking of children newborn to age 5, so before they really get to school. And one of the things that children's librarians would often do, the way we would read a book, is basically to read the text. And we learned a technique that's called dialogic reading or interactive reading. And what we found out is that this actually helps build children's comprehension by not just sticking only to the text, by helping them really engage with the book. So I thought I'd just share a little bit part of a book that I enjoy, Llama Llama Home with Mama, and show you both ways that I've learned to share this book. So this is Llama Llama Home with Mama, and it's by Anna Dubny. So when I would normally have read this book, I would go like this: Llama Llama Home with Mama, then by Anna Dubny. Open up the book, and I'm just going to share a couple of pages, not the whole book, just to give you the idea. So, Llama Llama morning light, feeling yucky, just not right. Down to breakfast, tiny sneeze, achoo. Sniffle, snuffle, tissues please.
And is this what you're calling interactive reading, or?
No, this is the first way that I would have read the book. So this is just really reading the text. Right. Llama's head is feeling hot. Llama's throat is hurting lots.
So what would an interactive reading look like?
And then, so if I were doing it interactively, I would go like this. Our book is Llama Llama Home with Mama by Anna Dudney. What do you see on the cover here? What do you think is happening? Then we'd wait for the child to respond. Oh, he's blowing his nose, or he looks sick, or whatever it might be. Yes, it does look like he's going to be being sick. Let's see what happens. Look what we see on these end papers here. What do you see? Then wait for them to respond. Some cough medicine, some paper with writing here, things that we might do when we, or need when we're feeling a little bit sick. Okay? So I talk a little bit more about the pictures and have the child interact. Then over here it says, we'll go to the page with down to breakfast, tiny sneeze. Down to breakfast, tiny sneeze. Okay, then what does it say? Sniffle, snuffle, tissues, please. So when we sneeze, I might go tiny sneeze, have them, let me hear you sneeze. And they sneeze with me. And how do we sneeze? Into our elbows. Right, good job, good job. Okay, Llama's head is feeling hot. Llama's throat is hurting lots. Let me see your forehead. Yeah, what does it mean when you have a hot forehead? Do you know what that means? You get what? What do you think? A fever. We get a fever. That's right. So you can see how it's much more interactive now when we've learned about that dialogic reading and more engaging for the child. So asking open-ended questions, relating what's happening in the book to the child's own experience, that actually helps with their comprehension also.
I would also think that it helps encourage their imagination more.
Absolutely, absolutely. You can get all different kinds of questions. And of course, you read the book more than once with your child, so you can talk about all different kinds of things, different times.
Yeah, that's very cool.
You don't have to do it all at once.
Interactive or dialogic. I like that. Do you have, please share another of your techniques that you use.
Okay, well, I just wanted to show the dialogic reading also can work for babies. Because with babies, we think a lot about, kind of like there's often just a word or two on a page and then you quickly turn the page. But for babies, we want to use books as what we call conversation starters. So this is Zoom Zoom Baby by Karen Katz. And here is, is baby on the bus? Beep, beep. No, it's a silly monkey. Okay, then we might go ahead and turn to another page. Is baby in the truck? Rumble, rumble. No, it's a friendly lion. Okay, now what I would do to expand on this, I might say, oh, what's in the truck? What does this look like in that truck? It looks to me like gravel, and we use gravel to make roads. So even though the baby won't understand all those words, we want to expose them to the different words and different languages, a different, more rich language. So we make sure to expand and use the book as a conversation starter. Okay. Now, of course, when you're actually reading the book to the baby, you have the baby in your arms and you're reading to the baby like this. And we always want to allow time for the baby to babble back. So for example, I might say, oh, what sound does a truck make? And we wait about 5 to 12 seconds. We need to give the baby time. They might just kind of make some gurgly noises. Yes, good job, Tamika. Rumble, rumble, rumble goes the truck. And look at those big circles for wheels. Okay, so in that way, again, adding a lot of times with babies, we think, oh, they don't really understand much. What can you do? But babies are learning through our talking.
And they're also learning that it's part of love because you're holding them and you're caressing them and you're talking with them and sharing it with them. So it reminds me really how I was introduced to swimming. And to this day, I still find swimming a wonderful, joyous, meditative thing for me because I was taught, I have sense memories of my mother or my father holding me in the water like this. I could imagine it be the same thing for a child that's been held while reading a book that book becomes part of that love.
Exactly. And that is that's so critical. Also, we almost naturally talk with babies in what we call parentese, that kind of high-pitched voice, elongated vowels. Oh, Tamika, look at the, like that kind of long, elongated vowels. And actually, until about 9 months old, babies will listen to you longer. If you speak with them in your regular adult language, it's not baby talk, but they will listen to you longer, and they have more vocabulary by the end of a year if you've spoken with them in parentese. So that's another little tip.
Oh, that's nice. Yes, that's very nice. And what are I'm fascinated by what you're telling us. What's another technique that you use with parents?
Oh, well, another very important technique that we try to share with parents is the importance of singing, rhyming, hearing sounds all around the environment. And you might think, what has that got to do with reading? But actually, we need children to be ready to hear the smaller sounds and words. If you think about them sounding out words, like they see the word bat. So when they're formally taught to read in school, they're going to have to sound out that word, b, at, and then put it together to say bat, right? But they have to hear those individual sounds before they can put it together. So as a pre-reading aspect, when they're little babies, we might just be calling attention to the sounds of the environment. A tooting horn, okay? The doorbell rings, that kind of thing. And we'll point that out to them so that they're attuned to sounds, okay? Even when we have like animal books and we're saying, what does a cow say, and so forth, that is part of the beginning of hearing the smaller sounds and words. Now, for slightly older children, we get a little more complicated, and we can help them hear the sounds in rhyme. So hickory dickory dock, okay? We might just say that rhyme, hickory dickory dock, the mouse went up the clock, but we could also point out that dock and clock rhyme, okay? That they sound alike at the end. So what is that doing? Helping them hear the smaller sounds and words, okay? Now, one kindergarten teacher told me a little tip. She said sometimes she tries this out on them. Do hill and mountain rhyme? And some children will say yes, because the meaning of the word is similar. But we are not talking about the meaning of the word. We want them to hear the sounds of the words. So even if you use like nonsense words, this is good, like what rhymes with clock? Zuck. Okay, then it has nothing to do with the meaning, and children can concentrate on the sound. Okay, so saying nursery rhymes, helping them actually point out the rhyme, not just hearing the rhyme, but pointing out the rhyme. And of course, we have lots of books, rhyme, for young children. This one is William's Winter Nap by Laura Ashman. I'll just give you a little example. If you happen to have a rhyming book, then this is a nice way to share it. Okay, so here it says, the three climb in and curl up tight. They yawn and say, good night, good night. All these animals are in the bed together. It's peaceful in the sleepy room until that is the boom, boom, boom. Okay? So here you can see the booming of someone's at the door.
So would you then turn this into an interactive thing of asking what else rhymes with boom, boom, boom? Or
well, boom, boom, boom is a good sound for the younger children, but if this is a rhyming book, so I might point this out. Will says, yes, we'll scooch a bit. There's room for four. I'm sure we'll fit. Okay, so in this case, I would read the whole book, but I might come back to this page and I say, hey, on this page, there are a couple of words that rhyme. I don't like to really interrupt the story. So let's see if you can tell what the rhyming words are. Will says, yes, we'll scooch a bit. There's room for four. I'm sure we'll fit. What rhymes with fit? That's right, bit. Let's have a little song about that. Now, this is supposed to be to the tune of Skip to Maloo. Fit, fit, these words rhyme. Fit, fit, these words rhyme. Fit, fit, these words rhyme. Rhyme right along with me. What else rhymes with fit? Then they might say sit, pit, zit, whatever. And then we do the song again.
Lovely.
So that's helping them hear the smaller sounds and words, and that's going to help them later learn to read.
I love it. I want to play. So for many parents who didn't receive this kind of training as when they were children, and therefore their children, reading is a chore. How do you impart the love of reading? Now, the one thing that you did was with the child cuddling. What are some of the other suggestions you have to help help the parent, even a parent who doesn't love reading, impart that love?
That is a very good question, because not everybody loves to read. And if you're a parent who doesn't really love to read, how are you going to impart that love of reading if it's not really something you enjoy yourself? It's like for me, I really don't like going skiing, downhill skiing. I'm kind of afraid of it, but my family goes, when the kids were little. So I went along and I did it, right? One thing that helps is knowing how important sharing books and reading is for your own children's later, learning also. So some things, even if we don't love it ourselves, we can still engage in it in some kinds of enjoyable ways. For example, let's say your baby is chewing on a book. Our first reaction might be, oh, no, Tamika, don't chew on the book, and pull it out of their mouths. Of course, babies put everything in their mouths. Instead, we might want to change our tone of voice and just say, oh, Tamika, that book looks so delicious. Let's just kind of pull it out of your mouth and read it, and then open it and share the book with the child. So they have that nicer tone of voice. If you'd like, we know that a lot of children don't sit very long. Toddlers, 2-year-olds might not sit very long for a book. So I think the main thing is don't turn it into a power struggle. You don't have to finish a book just because you started it. You can read a page or two, and that's fine. If you do some of that interactive talking around the book, that still gives them an enjoyable experience around books and reading. And for your slightly older children, letting them choose which book they'd like to share with you. And that's another way, so they get a choice. Which one do you want to hear? If your toddler or two kind of gets down and wants to start playing with a toy nearby, you can keep reading the book while they're playing, or you can simply put the book away and go down and play with them and pick it up another time. A lot of times you might hear, read with your child 15 minutes a day, read with your child 20 minutes a day. That really just concentrates on the time. We're trying to say now it's more important for the interaction around the book to be positive than it is to be long. Okay, so again, that interactiveness around the book is so critical, that positive interaction. So if you have that positive interaction around books, it's going to automatically become longer. You're not going to have to worry so much about the amount of time if you can build the quality around them.
Marvelous.
And that time together. And one other thing that we are noticing is using factual books. Really fascinates young children. They're so curious about everything that goes on in their world. And nowadays, the schools have noticed that how important factual books are for young children. Because what they were noticing is at 3rd grade, when you go from learning to read to reading to learn, children's reading scores were dropping because they didn't know words like metamorphosis or demolition, okay, because they've never heard those words before. But look at this book on diggers, right? So we've got really, a lot of kids are interested in all these machines that they often see around. And there's actually the term, the word demolition is actually used in this book. They would have heard that word before. And when they get to 3rd grade and are reading the word demolition, they've heard that word before. This is from wax to crayons. how do we get our crayons? How does that happen in the, in the factory? So it's poured into a mold, okay? And then what? It comes out looking like crayons when it gets hard. Now you have a bunch of red crayons, but look how they mix the crayons to get a machine to mix the crayons to get them into a multicolored box, okay? There's also one from milk to ice cream. I really like that one.
I find the crayon like that's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, starting with your child's interest is a good way. And if you can't, there's really books on just about any topic. So try asking at your library and they'll help you find some as well.
Now, there are a lot of parents that didn't get to start with early literacy. The kids have gotten older and they don't have a love of books. They've entered elementary school and they're not doing well with reading and they're bored by books and all they want to do is run around. Do you have any suggestions for them, for those
Well, this is very a hard thing to try to figure out. And even a lot of children who were interested in books younger, by the time they get to third, fourth, fifth grade, a lot of times that interest is subsiding. So for a lot of people, we have to find ways to kind of keep that enthusiasm going. One way I found is to have the child really be part of the process. And one of the ways we can have them be part of the process is to make their own books. So for example, you should give them a few sheets of paper and have them draw. A lot of them like to be creative with drawing. They could draw a picture on each page for a story. Then don't make them write the words. They're not interested in reading. It might also be hard for them to write, okay? So but they can tell you the words, and you either at the bottom of the page of each one, or you could start a new page that would be, go side to side, but you can write the words that they say. You don't add in your words. You write their words for each of the pictures. Then you staple those together. If they want to make a cover, they could, such and such a book by and their name, okay? And then you staple that together and you have them read their own book to you. Okay? In some libraries, we even have a little section of kid-made books.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So it's not only teaching them about reading, but it's encouraging the storytelling ability, which is so necessary in all aspects of life, to be able to tell a story, to be able to communicate through story, which is what we all do. It's marvelous. This has been great. I know you have scores of other suggestions, but thank you for giving us a few of them. And I understand on your website you have lots of other resources that I'll be putting up the information about that. It's for both parents and for librarians. You sent me a couple of handouts that were fascinating. What was that? The sharing and what was the other?
Share a book.
Yeah.
And the dialogic reading, we have a little handout there for you to just kind of have more detail and have a little cheat sheet, so to speak, as you get more interactive with your kids.
So I will share those links on your website too. It's thank you so much, Saroj. I really appreciated you taking the time to be.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, Sally. I really appreciate it.
So that was Saroj Ghoting, and her website is earlylit.net. It was great being with you. Bye, Saroj.